Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It has been a minute and I feel like I start every video, or I have been starting my most recent videos saying it's been a minute because it's been a minute. You guys might have noticed that in my most recent travel with me to Athens, Greece video that I posted, which you can check out, I'll card it here or there, you might notice that I took a different approach to filming that kind of video as opposed to other travel with me's I've done in the past. And there was a reason as to why I did it that way. Partly because I was traveling with somebody who I don't know how they genuinely feel about vlogging or things like that. Amanda is one of my best friends in this entire world, and she would support me in anything that I do, but I didn't want to like throw the camera in her face and be like, we're here, we're doing this. Instead of doing like the travel with me, I didn't really know how I wanted to piece both of these videos together. What I mean by that is that, you know, the travel with me and like the footage and everything that I did in Greece deserved its own moment. I wanted to give it its own video, and it was a lot different than anything I'd ever done before. But on that trip, and the reason why that video was very short and was very different compared to other videos that I've made in the past, was because of a lot of the other reasons which I'm going to address in this video. Based on the title of this video, you can tell that I learned a lot of stuff when I was in Athens. It was the first international trip that I had ever taken by myself. And what I mean by that is that in years prior, anywhere internationally I had gone, I was with Ryan. He planned every itinerary, he planned all of the accommodations. I basically just showed up and went on those trips and filmed everything, and yeah, like that was my sole role on those vacations. Was, you know, I was filming everything, I edited all the videos, and I put it together and I put it out on the internet. The first international trip that I had taken by myself. And again, I am very loose on using the terms by myself because yes, Amanda did come with me. However, Amanda had no say in the planning part of it, by her choice, not by me being neurotic and type A. She had no say when it came to the planning portion of it. She had no say when it came to what our accommodations were. I was in charge of planning everything about this trip, from getting there to getting around to what we were doing, all the different tours and whatnot that we did. I was in charge of it all. This was the first time that I had ever taken the reins on a project or a thing this big, because it's not only a matter of myself making sure that I had a roof over my head in a safe neighborhood, that I had food in my belly and I wasn't starving, that I wasn't doing things that were stupid or dumb or harmful to myself or others. This was the first time that like I was in charge of not only myself, but also another person. I often would joke that I would just be like, oh yeah, I'm along for the ride, I'm so spontaneous. And then I realized when planning this trip that I was such an a-hole to Ryan. So if you were to ever see this video, sorry, because now I understand, you know, what that entitles. And now I think also too, leading into my next point, is that again, I planned this entire trip by myself, and I learned that I am very neurotic. I'm so neurotic when it comes to planning things and making plans and organizing and just, you know, making sure that every little detail was accounted for. I wasn't the type of planner that literally would plan 15-minute potty breaks, but I didn't want us to be like hanging around and not having anything to do or being completely bored in a foreign city, because like we can't easily communicate that like we want to go do this or we want to go and see this. This was something that I knew about myself, but I realized just how neurotic I actually am. And what's really funny is that while we were on our trip, and I made mention of this in my blog post that I did for my 3-day itinerary in Athens, which I will link down below, one of our days got completely fudged up. We were supposed to go on a day trip to Delphi, and we were going to do, you know, the old city of Delphi, and we were going to do a day tour out there. They never showed up to pick us up. I realized that when that day trip to Delphi didn't happen, that I could have sat in the hotel room, I could have sulked, I could have whined and moaned and complained about how awful the trip was because it didn't go according to plan. And being that I was with Amanda, and the one thing you have to understand about Amanda and mine's relationship is that she is the yin to my yang. We balance each other out so well, where she's very, you know, go with the flow. To me, like that's what I do. I plan things. I'm so organized, and because something wasn't going according to plan, I could have freaked out. I could have, lost my mind and been like, this whole trip's ruined, everything's going wrong, yada, yada, yada. But instead she was like, hey, we'll just plan something different. We're in Athens, like nothing could go wrong. We're in Athens. And I kind of took that mentality of, instead of being sulking and bitter and upset about something, I made the best of the situation. We had a gorgeous day in Athens where we went and we got to go fully deep dive, explore into the Acropolis. We wouldn't have not been able to do that because we had so many other things we wanted to do while we were in Athens that we didn't get to see or do everything. And because Athens is so big and because we were doing a day trip to Delphi, just a lot of the stuff like wasn't going to add up, and it ended up working out for the best. Learning how neurotic I am and learning how to just let that shiz go really became an important thing that I learned on this trip. That, sometimes things are out of your control and sometimes things aren't going to go according to plan. And I've been doing a lot of self-diving and self-discovery, and whether that being using, astrology and kind of looking into different things like that, I've been listening to more of what the universe has been telling me. I realize now when I say that makes it sound like I believe in that stuff, and I do, because I've seen it come to fruition. But, just letting it fly off the shoulder and just rolling with the punches and actually being spontaneous made that trip 10 times better, because I wasn't so pent up on things that were supposed to happen, but rather just let things work out for themselves. This is where it's going to get a little sticky about not naysaying my previous travels, but it's going to get messy and I'm going to have to do it anyway. When I traveled with Ryan, I made mention of this earlier, I'm a very anxious traveler. I'm somebody who has to be in control of things, and I didn't believe in myself that I could plan a bomb itinerary, or I didn't believe that I could save up the money, or I could do these things without his help. No discredit to him, but I think it's more so learning about myself, because I didn't put a lot of faith in this. I didn't put a lot of faith in myself in terms of knowing that I could navigate in a foreign city where people surprisingly spoke more English than I thought, but not knowing that going in that you're in a foreign country. And when you go to Greece and you look like me, you stick out like a sore thumb. I'm not somebody who is obnoxious when I travel. I still try to stay very vigilant when I travel. To know that I was a solo female going on this trip to navigate myself to the airport, to navigate myself through security and all of the things you have to do to leave the country, to do those things by myself, I didn't think that I could do it. And I say that I did all of this by myself. Yes, Amanda went with me on this trip. And yes, Amanda was fantastic of a support system for me and one of the best travel companies partners that I could have asked for. I think if I went with any of my other friends, I love them dearly, but I think I would probably have strangled them. Amanda and I, like I said, are the yin and yang. We just mesh so well together. And even though Amanda was with me, Amanda gave me a ton of free rein. Amanda was more just like, I'm just here along for the ride, literally. Like, she was just there. And it was me, planning everything. It was me going here and saying, let's do this and let's do that. And she was just literally, okay, whatever you want to do, that's fine. And saying that I did this trip solo, it's not a lie. And I think that was the most important thing, is that I was able to do it by myself. And I was able to do it without somebody holding my hand or somebody saying to me that you're stupid or you don't know what you're talking about, which was a lot of the time what would happen on those trips with Ryan. There has never been a vacation or a trip that we went on that didn't result in a fight of some sort. Whether it being because I was too anxious or because I just didn't communicate with him or whatever it was, obviously we didn't work out for whatever reason we didn't work out. I think a lot of that came very evident when we traveled because we just were two polar opposites. With going on this trip with Amanda and not fighting and not finding the need to pick a fight for no reason or to not ridicule or be ridiculed or saying like, you're stupid or you don't know what you're talking about. Amanda put so much confidence into me when it came to being able to be my own person, to being able to say that, yeah, I navigated Greece by myself. She put so much confidence into me and she really made me realize that like, you are stronger than what you think you are. You are totally capable of the things that you set out to do, and I did them. I didn't think I could do this by myself, but Amanda more or less like mama bird me and pushed me out of the nest and made me do things that I was uncomfortable doing, but I did them. It's so empowering and so enlightening when you are walking around with your best friend and not to feel like the scared little girl who's hiding behind her beanpole of a boyfriend. Like, I remember before I left, everybody kept asking me, they're like, who are you going with? Who are you going with? And I said, my best friend, Amanda. And they're like, 2 single girls going to a foreign country. Okay, that's safe, right? Like, who's going to be your bodyguard? And I thought to myself, when I was traveling with Ryan weighed like 120 sopping wet. Like, I'm pretty sure like I would have been able to defend myself better in a fight than he would have ever been able to defend me. But besides the point, I had that moment of realization when we were in Delphi that I looked out and I had that moment where I was like, kind of caught me off guard, where I was like, I did this. Like, we're in Athens. We're in Delphi. I got us here. I did this for us. It was the most fulfilling trip because there were plenty of laughs. There were so many good stories that we had. We did so many things and it was just so empowering. It was so fulfilling. There's no other word that I can explain it like that. And everybody asked me, how was your trip? And I could just say it was good, but I can't put it into words. And that's why I wanted to make this video because, you know, the idea of solo travel, as I mentioned in my life update that I just recently posted, I've been really toying the idea about it, that I wanted to, like, I don't want somebody to sit there and tell me that you can't do this or that you need a man to travel the world with. I don't need anybody. Do I want the company? Sure. But I don't need anybody. And that was so important for me to learn on this trip. I did a solo trip last year to Miami, but I was meeting my family down there for my cousin's wedding. But again, I did everything by myself then, and I knew that I was able to do it, but it was still in the States. It wasn't the same thing. But to be able to say that I went to Athens, I went there, again, by myself, but having my best friend to lean back on as a backup blanket or as a backup plan, rather, it was so fulfilling. And I can't even put into words, like, you know, going to Athens alone, because it was just, you know, it was so surreal, because you look at everything and you're looking at these artifacts that are from, you know, 300, 400 BC before Christ. And you're like, that's old, but you can't even wrap your head around how old something actually is. I've been to Berlin, I've been to Amsterdam, I've been to Iceland, I've been to Prague, and Prague was like one of the oldest cities we've ever been to, or that I've ever been to. Still really hard to get out of the habit of saying we, a year later. Prague was one of the oldest unscathed cities I'd ever been to, and you're looking around and you're like, this is old. You go to Athens and it's like, that's old. Athens itself as a city was nothing like I ever imagined it. People would tell me, like, you know, when I was planning and organizing this trip, everyone's like, oh my God, Athens reminds me so much of Manhattan. And I couldn't understand that, because when I think of Manhattan, I think Times Square. I think, you know, tall skyscrapers, yellow taxis. I think busy bustle, just busy. And when I think of Athens, I did not think that on a first impression. As we were walking around the city, I definitely got that vibe of, this is somewhere I've been before, but never could put my finger on it. It reminded me a lot of Manhattan for sure, but also a little bit of Budapest. It was just, it's unique in itself, and I don't want to put a label on it saying it's like this city, because it's not. It's got its own culture, it's got its own thing, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was such a great introductory city to solo travel, because I never once felt unsafe. I never once felt threatened. I never once felt uncomfortable. There was one moment in time where I did feel slightly uneasy, but because I was vigilant, I was able to kind of correct the situation. But that's not anything that would have deterred me from wanting to continue to keep solo traveling. Like, I know there are horror stories that girls go through, you know, with, you know, there's always that fear of like sex trafficking or being kidnapped, or, you know, just something happening to you. And that's what I think everybody was so worried about let alone the coronavirus, because we were going where Italy had just closed its borders and everybody was so worried that I was going to be quarantined, I wasn't going to come home, but that was completely off the radar when we were overseas, because that's a topic for a different day. Again, it would never deter me from not being vigilant, because that just is who I am. Even when I go to Walmart, like, I'm still constantly like creeping over my shoulder, just because I am a very vigilant person when I am out, because you never know. Even with the whole coronavirus, you know, it was certainly a concern before I left, and I definitely did my research before going to make sure I wasn't going to get stuck somewhere that I couldn't get out or I couldn't get home. And you know, that it's unfortunate what is happening, but I also think that a lot of it is hyped up, but that's a video for a different day if you want to hear my thoughts on it. I swear I'm not going to turn it into a conspiracy channel, but just saying that my inbox is always open if you are down to talk conspiracy, because your girl's got some. This trip, I learned so much about myself in terms of everything. Learning about the person that I am, who I want to become, the person that I am becoming, and, you know, just everything in general. I think everything that I took away from this trip was just so much more than just a vacation in Athens. It, like I said, it was such a fulfilling, enlightening trip about myself, about my friendships, about the people I want in my life, the people that I want to surround myself by, and who was in my life before and who isn't now. And, you know, just surrounding myself about that good, positive energy. I often talk about how I want that in my life, and going on this trip really put things in perspective. And, you know, it's like now I'm just ready and eager for the next trip, and that planning of being either Canada, either Montreal or Toronto with Amanda, and then in November I have a trip to Barcelona planned as well too. Reiterating that I don't need somebody to tell me what to do, that I'm fully capable of doing things on my own. I don't need somebody to hold my hand and say that you're stupid, you're incompetent, you don't know what you're talking about. It was a tough pill to swallow, because I remember talking to Amanda about when we would go on trips and how these conversations happened a lot more than once. And again, I'm not sitting here belittling him, because, you know, c'est la vie, whatever it is, like, we did some really great things together. But again, that company that I kept, it certainly wasn't good. I kind of want to go redo those cities again, because now knowing that I am fully capable of planning an itinerary, of doing these things by myself, it kind of like puts a little pep in your step, and you know that you're able. The age-old saying that I don't need no man, I learned firsthand that I didn't need no man. I was able of doing everything on my own, and with that, you can't put a price on that. Not to get emotional, but it's so, when you realize what your worth is and what you're capable of doing, you could take on the goddamn world. Those were my life lessons that I learned in Athens. I feel like this was kind of hodgepodge, but this is the first time that I have actually sat down in a really long time and just talked. And this is a different kind of video than I've ever done before. If you like these kind of videos where I just kind of sit down and chit chat with you guys, let me know in a comment. Be sure to like this video. Be sure to check out that travel with me that I posted to Athens. And if you like that style of video, let me know. Or if you like the old school where I kind of update you as I go about. It's really hard to, because again, I don't know how Amanda feels about that whole like vlogging lifestyle, and especially because she is going to be my travel partner for the foreseeable future. Those videos might be changing a little bit, not sure. Be sure to subscribe, because I feel like that I'm going to be coming out with a little bit more consistent content. Seeing that I do have this kind of newfound energy and this newfound inspiration, if you will, I definitely feel that content will be coming a little bit more consistently. I haven't decided how or with what or what I want to do just yet, but be sure to follow me on all my socials. They'll be listed down below. Go follow me on my website. Again, you can find that at sarahlock.com, 2 H's, 2 K's. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys again for being so patient with me when it came to updating or not updating, and just being patient with the revitalization that I've been going through. I knew that the Greece trip was going to bring some sort of creative energy back into my life where I would be excited about posting content. And since coming back home, I have been chomping at the bit because I've just been like, I want to talk about everything. I want to do everything. And I definitely feel much more grounded. I feel like I'm getting back to my old self and my old habits of creating content and sharing my story. And I think exciting things are coming in 2020. My birthday is on Thursday, and 27 is going to be a good year. I just have a good feeling. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and bounce. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Take care. Love you always. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.